Gachagua gives a warning rooted in African wisdom, and I want to quote him verbatim. When the death of a monkey is imminent, all trees are slippery. In Swahili it says, wakati wanyani kufa miti yote huteleza. Gachagua says that working Kenyans were reduced to desperation as aggressive taxation cut deep into their payslips. And that is way back when Gachagua says that in their regime, should they be elected, they're going to restore the dignity of the payslips. Kenya's political landscape is once again at crossroads of religion, power, and public trust. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, now the leader of the Democracy for the Citizens Party, popularly known as DCP or Skiza Ground, has released a scathing statement accusing President William Samoei Ruto of religious manipulation, deception, and governance failure. In what reads like both a confession and an indictment, Gachagua argues that Kenyans, especially Christians, were misled by political theatrics that masked what he describes as one of the most damaging administrations in Kenya's history. According to Rigathi Gachagua, the 2022 campaign was carefully choreographed around religious symbolism. He describes a candidate who arrived in churches with visible displays of faith, Bible in hand, emotional public display, emotional public prayers, and cultural familiarity across regions. As he puts it, and I want to quote verbatim, he came with the Holy Bible and tears. He sang all vernacular songs. Those are what Gachagua says. Now, these gestures, Gachagua says, were calculated to build trust in deeply religious society. From belief to betrayal, this is what Gachagua says, that it's a striking admission that religious voters, including himself, were duped and deceived by appearances. He quotes, "Being Christians, we all fell for his antics and gave him our votes," he states. Now, Gachagua argues that the church endorsed not just a candidate, but a moral image that later collapsed. In Scrutiny Under Governance, Gachagua paints William Samoei Ruto in a grim picture of the post-election period, alleging state-sponsored brutality and widespread abuse of power. He accuses the administration of presiding over abductions and violent crackdowns on dissent, particularly among the youth, alongside corruption and misuse of public resources. He doesn't forget to mention about the state-sanctioned abductions and extrajudicial killings that were made to the voices of dissent, as he puts it. In terms of economic and security fallout, Gachagua says that working Kenyans were reduced to desperation as aggressive taxation cut deep into their payslips. And that is way back when Gachagua says that in their regime, should they be elected, they're going to restore the dignity of the payslips. He also criticizes security decisions that he claims weakened domestic law enforcement and emboldened criminal elements. Now, of late, we have seen William Samoei Ruto getting back to churches, especially in the mountain region. So, with the growing criticism from religious institutions, Gachagua alleges that the president has returned to churches, not in humility, but in political desperation, using manufactured crowds and inflated donations to simulate public support. How does this happen? When you see those huge crowds, they are usually political aesthetics. And whenever these people are, and this is where now I beg to differ when they say you cannot bury an elephant with its tusks. Yes, true, because that is wealth. But again, For what purpose will you be making when you are in that gathering where the president is holding his rally? For him, it is a plus because whatever picture people from other regions are receiving and the intent at which you are at that particular point is very, very different. So in my conclusion, Gachagua gives a warning rooted in African wisdom, and I want to quote him verbatim. When the death of a monkey is imminent, all trees are slippery. In Swahili it says, wakati wanyani kufa miti yote huteleza. So he urges Kenyans to look beyond symbolism and demand accountability. So my question is, what systems should be put in place with regards to issues of politics and church? There should be a distinction. In politics, there is leadership. In church, there is leadership. And we should not take politics into church. Remember, this is an institution is sealed with issues of worship and streamlining the country if it is heading on the wrong direction. But alas, here we are, churches mad in politics. And in the epitome of the campaigns of 2022, we saw churches deeply rooted into politics. The seed that we planted, uprooting it will be very difficult. But thank God, the deception that William Ruto brought, especially after his election, was so imminent. It was seen. It was in black and white for anybody to want to support him again. Anyway, he has the broad base. I don't know what's your take. I don't know what you think about this. Give me your take in the comment section below. If you love content of this nature, kindly subscribe and press the notification button so anytime that we are live or we upload content of this nature, you'll be the very first person to be notified. Ahmed Khalif is my name for the Unscripted Talks here in Dub Radio. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The road from Rironi to Mau Summit was supposed to be built by the French at 150 billion. Ruto ameenda amecancel hiyo, amepatia Chinese at 200 billion. So wameiba bilioni 50. Na Wakenya watalipa hiyo deni for 35 years. So that is why ourselves, with Daktari here and other leaders, we are saying we must liberate this country. Sindio?
Kwa timba kali za Afrika, Dub Radio ndio mpango mzima.